Namaste and good evening. A very warm welcome to all the viewers for the 38th online interactive session, Samvada, brought to you by VHS Hindustan Sangam, Karnataka. In our 37th Samvada, we had Dr. Arjuna S.R., Assistant Professor, Department of Philosophy, Mahe, who spoke on relevance of Sanskrit in modern era. It was highly informative and relevant in today's times. And today, we have a very interesting talk, which was never done before, by a Bharatanatyam artist, Miss Meghna Venkat, who will speak on science and Hinduism in Bharat's classical dance. A small brief on today's speaker. Meghna Venkat is a Bharatanatyam artist trained in Kalashekara style under the tutelage of several gurus. She's an empaneled artist of the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. She's a graded artist of Doordarshan, selected for lectureship under UGC NET Central Government examinations. She's a recipient of various awards like Natya Chamal, Nitya Komudi, Nitya Shiromani, to mention a few. She's currently pursuing doctorate in dance. She conducts biennial festivals named ICOM. ICOM is an international thematic dance festival. She has also conducted online arts festival named Bridge the Gap Initiative during the first wave of the pandemic, which was at that time a new concept. Through the initiative, she is able to collect 1.85 lakhs and donate the entire amount to artists. She has established Nityanadam Arts Institute, which trains several students under the ICOM establishment. She provides scholarship to 15 underprivileged school children for their academics and also trains them in dance. She has been honored with the Women's and abroad, which include she has several leading artists in India and abroad. She has represented in India and Norway. She has also rendered concerts in Australia, Malaysia, USA, and also conducted workshops. I'm also joined by Gopi Ji, General Secretary of VHS Karnataka, by Tejas Ji. I now invite and request our guest, Ms. Meghna Venkat, to start this evening's program with a talk on science.
Namaste, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I thank VHS for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak on science and Hinduism in Bharat's classical dance. It might be surprising that there has been a time to explain this topic. Yes, we live in this time where I should elucidate. Science and Hinduism, according to me, is part and parcel of the Sanatana Dharma of Bharat. Science was integral to Hinduism, and art is a constituent of our culture. The art of Bharat has many branches: sculptures, painting, folk art, music, classical art, classical dance and music, literature, drama, painting, martial arts, and so many more. Today, the topic that the approach that I will do to the subject is with these topics. First, I will be talking about Nataraja, the cosmic dancer, then the Natya Shastra, the treatise of dance or dramaturgy, then the significance of the gungurus, talam, the rhythmic cycle, the importance of music and lyrics and psychology in Natya, and which culminates to the Abhinaya, essence of which is Ananda. Through this, I shall first explain on each topic the scientific aspects, followed by the spirituality aspect of each topic, and then it will culminate to the essence and the very reason of life. And at the end of this session, there will also be a questionnaire. If somebody wants to ask, they can type in their questions after this session. So, the moment I say dance, what do we remember? We remember the cosmic dancer, the dancing god, the king of dance, Nataraja. Why do we call him Nataraja? Why do we call him the king of dance or the cosmic dancer? Isn't it a very scientific term for a very ancient god? Is it because he is the only god for dance? Not just that. It is also because how scientific the whole image of Nataraja is. I shall introduce you to the physics of Nataraja. We all know that there is something called particle collision or the interactions. They're broadly classified into four: the strong and the weak interactions, electromagnetic interactions, and the gravitational. We know the electromagnetic and gravitational interactions since we experience it on the earth. The strong and the weak interactions is better understood in a laboratory, and outer space, the effect is massive. These cosmic rays, when touches the Earth's atmosphere, they produce a secondary particle. And when again it will collide and again it will produce. This is known as fission. This flow of energy is of the particles interacting and changing their patterns while getting created and destructed. Creation and destruction are terms which we are very used to in our spiritualism. In the book World of Elementary Particles, written by Kenneth Ford, he comments the creation of a virtual neutron antiproton pair diagram looks quite horrendous, but perfectly real. Every proton occasionally goes through exactly this dance of creation and destruction. Why does he mention the diagram as horrendous? Because it is so perfectly aligned. And we also find he has mentioned the dance, the term dance. It's not surprising, many physicists have mentioned the name as dance because it is the energy dance which creates and destructs. Our rishis, can we call them ancient scientists? They were also artists. So they created this image. And they have given a horizontal line and the 3/4 the vertical line, and there is a diagonally an axis which you can find it on the slide. Here they have the change of particle axis of the particle is given as a diagonal line. Now give it a circumference. Now let's add some spiritual diameters to this and give it some human touch. So let's add some hands and legs and little paraphernalia. Now, tell me, is this science or is this spirituality? Thus, this cosmic dance, the metaphor, unifies the ancient philosophy, religious art, and the modern physics. Here, we also find that in Fritjof Capra's book, this is the element, a particle collision that he has described in his book Tao of Physics. It is interesting to know that how each and every element collides in the same fashion, just like our image of Nataraja. Not only this, the human anatomy is also perfectly improved. The blood flow and the concentration is increased, and memory is increased when a dancer or anybody poses in this pose for a long time. It also improves the balance of the body and increases the oxygen in the blood. So, with all these effects, now what is the spiritual aspect to this? The dance is not just outside, the dance is inside also. Shiva Tandava happens inside the body. So it is both spirituality, human anatomy also. Here, the Panchakritya, that is the Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Tirodhana, and Anugraha, also happens inside the body. And Fridtjof Capra in his book mentions, being a physicist, I know that every single atom is in movement, or he calls it laya. This laya is a single entity and everything is part of this laya, he says. In the Skanda Purana of the Chidambara Mahatyam, explains what is given in the slide. Each of the paraphernalia that we have given, the fire which is around the Shiva is resembled with a Maya, or is the tiger which he ties around on his waist is connected to the Ahamkara which he tears upon and wears it. The serpent is the bad thought. The Apasmara, or the demon, which is ignorant, which is the aspect of ignorance, is stepped and crushed on under his foot. The Damaru is the creation, the fire in hand is the destruction, the Abhaya Hasta is Thirodhana, and Dola Hasta is the Anugraha. And interestingly, everything is described in this Chidambara Mahatyam, which is described in the Skanda Purana, except the actual dance. The actual dance is just left blank. It mentions that the dance is something that is unexplainable. But we Indians are never satisfied with an abstract. We always want something to be imagined. So Patanjali Muni comes to our rescue. Patanjali Muni, along with Vyagrapada, actually see this dance at Chidambaram. And why Chidambaram? That again is a huge topic, which due to time bound, I'm not dealing with this now. But Chidambaram is selected as the place due to many scientific reasons, which is also explained in the Chidambara Mahatyam. And Patanjali gives us the Natesha Navakam, which explains the dance of Nataraja at Chidambaram. I shall just recite one from the slokam. Sadanchita mudanchita nikunchita padam jala jalam chalita jan manjukatakam Patanjali druganjana mananjana pacham chala padam janana banjanakaram Kadamba ruchidambara vasam paramamam budavatakam vidambakagalam Chidambuda manim buddha hridambuja ravim para chidambara natam hridibaja. Interestingly, this Natesha Navakam doesn't have any akaras or ukaras. And hence, Patanjali says, whoever reads this, recites this every day, increases the stamina and the pranayama. It is not just the particle coalition, it is not just the human anatomy, it is not just the Panchakrityas. It is definitely something more than all this. Nataraja idol is a representation of many subjects like literature, tantra, mantra, yantra, and panchakshara, chaturvida purusharthas, and Sri Vidya Swarupa. Each and every subject is vast, and science could only give us one of these subjects as a proof. Such is the vastness, or is the beauty of the spirituality behind Nataraja. Now, this whole cosmic dance, how did it come onto the earth? Who brought us this dance? Brahma meditated on the four Vedas and brought each element from the four Vedas and formed a fifth Veda, which is known as Natya Veda. This Natya Veda was taught to Bharatamuni. Bharatamuni then coded this as Natya Shastra. This idol is the statue of Bharatamuni found in IGNC Delhi. And Bharatamuni has written this Natya Shastra. What is a Shastra? In this slide, we see the definition of Shastra given in Maitreya Upanishad. A Shastra has to be that which gives precise formulas, which admit only one interpretation. It gives innumerable technical terms, the etymological derivations, of which lead us to ideas of astounding precision. The definition as given in the Upanishad. This Shastra is dated very long back. If you search in the internet, it will show you as 500 BC to 500 AD, a dating which I feel has been outdated. There are proofs, which is now given in the slide that you're watching. I will not be touching these proofs as it will deviate from the topic, but this is the proof that it is a pre-epic period where Natya Shastra was coded by Bharata Muni in the land of Kashmir or in the land of Saraswati. And his descendants or the successors, Abhinavagupta, Bhattanayaka, Bhattatauta, Sri Shakunkaka, and everybody wrote these treaties in Kashmir. And these researchers have found that the dates of Natya Shastra is at least 2 million years ago. Yes, it is 2 million years ago. And now, so what does this whole Natya Shastra talk about? The contents of Natya Shastra is, in one line, we can say, Rasa Bhava Abhinaya Dharma Vritti Pravrityaha Siddhi Swara Tata Atodhyam Ghanam Rangascha Samgraha. So these are the topics that are mainly touched in the Natya Shastra in the 36 chapters that it has. The first 3 chapters tell the origin of the dance, and we just saw how the origin has come. Brahma has meditated that section, and then there also talks about the erection of theatre. So here we see the architectural beauty and architectural development at that age. Every gem, every stone, every pillar has been described onto where to be placed. The 4th chapter discusses about the varieties of dance, and here we see a geographical divisions, and the Purvaranga is the first appearance of the dancer on the stage, where she invokes the blessings of all the gurus, the deities, the gods, and the stage itself. The main chapter is the Rasa, for which the whole Natya Shastra has been coded. The Rasa, what is Rasa? It's a very complex and very interesting. Rasa is nothing but when you see an enactment where there is a family and this family has lost somebody due to some mishap and the family is devastated. You see this enactment, the family is devastated, it is crying, there's a lot of sorrow. As you see, you also get involved and start feeling sorrowful. At the end of the enactment, you come out and say, wow, what an enactment. This wow element is rasa. And the actor who acts as a sorrow is the bhava. But the same thing when it happens in the real life, we don't see a wow element. So only in imitation can this rasa happen. The whole of art culminates and into this manifestation of rasa, which is called as aesthetic experience. The next few chapters talks about the abhinayas or expressions. The angika is the body expressions, vachika is the expression through words, aharyam is through costumes and decorations, and the next few chapters talks about the instruments in the music, the element which is inbuilt in dance. And the last chapter talks about each portrayal of each characters. I must emphasize that in Bharata's Natya Shastra, glorifying a negative character or showing a negative attitude which will spoil the culture is unprincipled and abominable and must be avoided. Nowadays, we see a lot of this because that doesn't elevate to higher platform. This is best to be avoided. Upon seeing all this, now the dancer is ready to perform on stage. What is the first thing that she does? She first bows to her gungurus. She pays obeisance to the gungurus or the kinkini. The kinkinis are very significant in a dancer's life. It becomes a part and parcel of her dance. Now we shall talk about the chemistry and the biologies of the bells. Here we have a quote from Abhinaya Dharpana, Suswarascha, Surupascha, Sukshma Nakshatra Devataha, Kinkinya, Kamasya Rachita, Eka Anguli Antaram, Bhandiya Neela Sutrena, Granthibi, Grantibischa, Druda Punaha, Shata Dvayam, Shatam Api, Padoya Natya Charini. The first word, Suswarascha, means that which will sound pleasant. The second word, the Surupascha, means that which will look beautiful. Sukshma Nakshatra Devataha is the representation of the moon. So the bell should look beautiful and should sound pleasant. And Kamascha Rachita, it should be made of bronze. What is this bronze? Why did they create bronze for the bell sound? India is one of the foremost players in making metals and the combination of alloys. This type of making bells using the melting and casting methods as well as complex metallurgical compositions of copper, zinc, lead, tin makes wonderful instruments. So this will sound so beautiful and also it will reach that which we'll see next. Now, coming to the biology of the part of this. When it is tied with a Neela Sutram, that is a thread, each bell is tied to a thread and tied in the ankle. Why in the ankle? You must have noticed in your ECG checkups that they keep an electrode in the leg ankle connected to the arm and in the heart. Why this is done so? Because these points give us the signals to the heart, and then this interpretation of the heartbeat is taken. So there is a nerve which passes from the ankle to the heart. The dancer who is performing this extensive cardio activity needs good blood circulation. So this thread acts as an acupressure and stimulates the blood circulation. Hence, we see that this beautiful sound which it makes and the energy that it gives forms something that we always know as a bell. We use it in our puja rooms and temples. This slokam is one which is in the Agama Shastra of the Shivagama Prayoga Chandrika, which explains that for the arrival of the gods and departure of the evil entities, I ring the bell as a sign of invocation of the deity to ward off all the evils and clear the air. Sir C.V. Raman noted that it would form a fascinating chapter of history to try and trace the gradual development of musical instruments and musical knowledge from the rhythmic chanting of Rig Veda to the Indian music to the present day. Now, with all the aspects we go to the next, which is the most important part of the dance or music, which is the rhythmic cycle. Talam. Talam, without the talam, there is no dance or music in Bharat. And talam is very unique to our culture. I shall now first explain the mathematics of talam, which is quite obvious. The rhythmic cycle is full of mathematics. So we know there are seven talams, and there is something called the five jatis: the Chatrishra, Mishra, Khandam, and Sankirnam and Mishram. All these five topics, five jatis, combined with the seven talams, give us 7 to 5, 35. Now, there is one more twist to this. This 35 talams, again, when combined in these five nadais, give us 175 talams. Some subtractions and additions make a beautiful korvai. What is a korvai? A series of steps. Make a beautiful dance steps. In getting this to this talam, we also need the calculation. Below are some of the formulas that is used, and I would like to give the example of the Khanda Nade, which you see as the second example. Khanda Nade, that is the fifth takka takita, fifth ghati of the talam, and how it is calculated when you do a tirmanam or when we do an ending. So in a talam, how it is calculated? Ta, taka dhimi, taka dhimi, taka dhimi, taka dhimi, taka takita, taka takita, taka takita, taka takita, taka takita, tadikitatum, tadikitatum, tadikitatum. So the taka takita is the calculation that goes into this x minus x by 5 is equal to ck. This is the Khandanade, Chaturashra Khandam. And also the synchronizations of the mind and the limbs. It is the mind has a different pattern, the limbs have a different pattern. I would like to also represent this different patterns which this limbs will play, and the mind is calculating something. Tadit takanaka jam tari kita taka takadit takanaka jam tari kita taka tadi kita tom taka tadi kita tom taka diku tadi kita tom. So now you would have noticed that the symbols were playing something different from what I was reciting. So synchronization of mind and limbs is a very important, and which is developed in the konokol. What is konokol? A jati or the talam. And now, how did this takatarigita tomon, all that come about? You have all heard about the Maheshwara Sutra, which has come from the Shiva's Dhamaru and explained very well by Saint Panini in his Ashtadhyayi of Sanskrit. From these Maheshwara Sutras, we have got the Jati syllables. And it is also observed that Shushruta used to use these words. These words are also called as konokol for ailment in through music. So such old and such is the Ayurvedic medicinal value of these konokol bowls. And Arunagirinadar, a saint in the 14th century, wrote a poem called Tirupugal. He used this meter and recited a Tirupugal, which is unfathomable at that point of time, maybe even today. And the speech which is produced because of these bowls, they're divided into 4 categories or 4 stages: Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikari. And Vaikari is the last stage of where the speaker can be heard by the audience. This recitation also brings a positive wavelength and words of evil. For example, I've given in the slide. Sorry. Ta kuje kuta kuje kujana kuta kuta kita jam takita jam jam ta. Ta kuje kuta kuje kujana kuta kuta kita jam takita jam jam ta. Ta kujana kujam jana kukina kujam ta ta jam taka diku takita kuta tom ta ta jam taka diku kuta kuta tom ta ta jam taka diku kuta kuta tom ta. So these words can also ward off evils, can make a good anatomy in the tongue, and also if a person is unable to talk, also is aided in language. Coming to language, which is also an integral part of dance, lyrics and music, it is very important. How did this come, the lyrics and the music? I have a audio in this which I would like to play, but I'm not sure how it can be played from my computer. Maybe at the end of the session I would share it again and play it for you. It's very interesting to know how the damaru and the syllables have come together. So this is the importance of the music and the lyrics that we have. Now, coming to the psychology of Natya. Natya is all about communication, the expression. So communication is the means um, of a psychology to a person, and the ultimate reality has been described in the Upanishads. Now, when we talk about the psychology of Natya, first thing that comes is the expressions, the Navarasas. All the Navarasas communicate to the audience and bring out the essence of a art, of a culture. The uniqueness is in how the audience takes the essence of this abhinaya. Navarasa, as we all know, is a huge, humongous topic, and every rasa is always culmination to the ananda, that is the bliss. Every text in India, we find the Taittiriya Upanishad, the Maitreya Upanishad, Tejabindu Upanishad, Deva Upanishad, Jivan Muktas, every treaty that is found in Bharat explains the same thing, that is the self-luminous consciousness, that is the Ananda, the bliss. This reality is nothing but the rasa abhinaya, and the manifestation of art, of the art form, the spirituality. The science behind everything is the main topic, main essence of why we have even taken a birth, to realize for moksha, the enlightenment. Abhinava Gupta says the aesthetic experience is not the experience of the personal emotion. It is the experience of a universalized or liberated emotion which is free from time, place, and personality restraints. So, dance is basically an eternal bliss. And it does not mean that it has to be contained. It is something which is alaukika, something which originates from the sattva. Sattva is the inner feeling, something that Agni Purana describes as Sat Chit Ananda, which means it is nothing but Brahmananda Sahodara. And dance is a alaukika process. What is alaukika? Alaukika is something that is beyond the worldly sphere, which elevates us to the world beyond. And every treaty in this country has manifested the same thing, elucidated the same thing, the Ananda. So, such is the vast repertoire of Hinduism, which is an integral part of science, art, and culture, which is why we call it as Sanatana Dharma. Dance is in no way exceptional. The science behind dance is to take the human emotion to a higher platform. Thank you so much for giving this wonderful opportunity. I must thank Dr. Swami and VHS India team, VHS Karnataka team, Shri Nikunj Shah, President of Karnataka chapter, Gopi ji, Secretary of Karnataka chapter, Tejas ji, for the President and of Pune chapter and the international member of VHS, who have joined me today. And I thank each and every viewer who have given their time during this busy schedule and watch this program along with me. Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste.
Thank you, Sri Meghna Venkatji, for enlightening us on science and Hinduism in Bharata's classical dance. What an amazing session was it! Really, I mean, like a lot of information is loaded, but it's still for many of us it's still new. I mean, like even though we watch the regular classical dance, but I think we need to get used to the linguistic that you have used. We need to get used to it. Thank you for that, G. And I have a simple question, like, what are the
Yes.
different levels in Bharata's classical dance, and how long will it take for an individual to get proficiency in that?
Yes, there is no time bound. Just like any academic studies, it is it is always vast and always can be learned until we are satisfied, or maybe we are never satisfied. But the basic is the student is introduced into adavus, which are the steps. So it takes around 3 to 4 years to only introduce the steps of the Bharatanatyam. Gradually, she is introduced to complex steps and then taken to Abhinaya. So this whole process, uh, minimum of 6 years, is required to exhibit to somebody that the student is learning dance. After the 6 year period, once she is little ready to perform on stage, she can develop it from there, and there is no stop, there is no end to this.
Thank you, G. And you mentioned about, I mean, like Nataraja, Swami Nataraja, and in CERN, and I think in Europe, at a certain institution in front of that, they have put the Nataraja's like Tandavam,
Yes,
what do
Nataraja's
you call it? Vigraha.
image there. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
Vigraha
presented
in
by the
there.
Indian government to the CERN.
Okay. So
Yes,
it signifies, I mean, like intricacies of the technology that's been used inside, and also the uh, when you mentioned about the multiple levels of forces that act, four levels are weak, stronger, the other two like gravitational and the magnetic.
yes,
That's very, I mean, like very scientific. I mean, when you look into the details of it,
very true.
it's
It's
really
it's
scientific.
astonishingly beautiful to even realize that our ancient rishis had propounded something that we are still unable to find the depth of this image.
Exactly. And when you look at even today's modern, what do you call quantum theory? I mean, the earlier version they were saying in protons and neutrons and they get together, they are the tiniest of the particles. But later on, they said that when into the matter, antimatter, proton, antiproton, electron, anti-electron, and
Yes,
also they went into the theory of like string theory, M theory and string theory of late, which says that the strings will be vibrating in a very what do you call the fluent dance form. So
yes,
which comes to this what you exactly defining again, saying that it forms a dance pattern, but many of us won't able to see that. In fact, I mean, like the strings that talk about, we cannot be able to see at this point.
True.
And it vibrates in a or it dances in a very rhythmical pattern across the universe.
Yes,
So I
even in
think
the vacuum, it is
even in
found
the
that,
vacuum.
yes, yes. So it's
and
really,
and maybe around 20 years back, like we didn't know about what was there in the vacuum. Maybe 20, 30 years back. Now they started saying that there is nothing called vacuum. They
yes,
started saying that dark matter is there.
yes,
And lately they started saying that dark energies. So only the matter that we see, the current like earth and the particles that we talk about, is contains only 4% of the entire universe. So rest of like 24% is dark matter, and around 72% comes around dark energy. So what is this dark energy? So until
yes.
this point, we don't have any idea, any clue.
Any idea
I
of
think,
what it is?
yeah. And I think our Vedas and our ancestors are trying to tell this. What exactly is this? Maybe we need to look back into our ancient
Scriptures,
yes, scriptures
yes,
and
scriptures.
ancient knowledge,
Sad,
ancient
sadly, many of these scriptures are also lost.
yes,
Too, we have not got many of the scriptures. They're completely lost, and so some explanations are just incomplete.
yes, very true.
So
And
it
you
makes
ask
it
you to
more
suggest.
difficult for us to it makes it more difficult for us to comprehend of what they are trying to say. True.
Exactly. I think we have some of them, but not all of them, as you mentioned. Some of them were
Yes.
burnt. I mean, Nalanda and
Yes.
Takshashila was burnt. I mean, like for
True.
months together, our scriptures were burning there for many months,
Many
and
months. Yes.
Takshashila also. And
Yes.
many of them are after that, of late, like many of them were taken to the Europe in 14th or 15th, I think somewhere in 15th centuries. And from
Ah.
there onwards, suddenly the science and technology has started evolving from Europe. So
Yes.
we can connect the dots, saying that where exactly they have got the inspiration. I mean, even many of the Germans like say that like they have got a lot of inspiration from ancient Vedic knowledge system. So
Yes.
whether it's Oppenheimer who invented the atomic bomb, he clearly says that it's a modern day atom bomb. The ancient time, the in Mahabharata, they used it.
Mahabharata. Yes. Yes.
Yes, he
In
clearly
fact,
says.
recently they have in Kerala they have found how to how these each and every bomb that is used in Mahabharata, they have found a scripture to this.
Oh,
The
Astras, is it?
explanation of, yes, recently I just read it in the newspaper. I think 10 days or 1 week ago, that they have
Okay.
found a scripture, a manuscript which explains in detail of every bomb that has been used and how it has been
Astras.
invoked. So
Wow.
naturally,
That
yes, yeah, yes, it's
that'd
a
be
new
like
finding.
amazing.
Yes,
Meghna,
I
I
think
have a question for you.
yes, G.
Yeah. Now, this is for the benefit of the viewers. Which temple of ours depicts the maximum dance forms so the people could visit it?
Very interesting question.
Yeah.
Which temple? It I can categorize this. So if you one wants to see a karana is a sculpture dance poses. So if one wants to see a karana, then maybe they should visit one of the four temples: Brihadishwara, Chidambaram, or Tiruchandur. I forget the fourth one. Mm, I forget the fourth one, but one of these three are for the Karanas. And there are a lot of other temples in the Chola and Pandava period also, which depicts the dance poses. And as we do have the Konarak temple, and also there is a temple in Odisha, which also a lot of dance poses are depicted in that temple. I forget the name of that temple. It's in Odisha. So these some of the temples, and of course, how can we forget our Karnataka's Halibidu and Hampi, where the maximum posters of dance are given. Is yes, these are some of the temples that anybody can visit to see the sculptures.
So I have another question relating to the same thing. Is that since I visited many temples across India, I see below the Vindhyas you see a lot of dance form on temples. Above the Vindhyas you don't see that many dance form on temples. Why is that?
Yes, there are two things to this. One, because of the emperors who lived, the Vijayanagar, the Chola, and the Pandya, who built below the Vindhyas. They were very artistically oriented emperors who wanted to build a temple in which will constitute everything, not just the temple of worship. They wanted arts, they wanted poet, they wanted literature, they even wanted to bring people together. Yes, ecosystem. The whole ecosystem was built in a temple. That was one of the reasons. The another reason which I must tell is that the North India has been ruled by invaded. Thank you for the word. Yes, invaded by the Mughals, who were bent upon destroying each and every temple that was truly beautiful, even in the north of India. There were some astounding temples in Kashmir where art and literature flourished, but we don't see any temples in Kashmir. And there were some temples in Gujarat, there were some temples in the northeast, which we don't find it mainly because of the Mughal invasion.
And I think the ancient temples have been destroyed. Once they've been destroyed, the latest builders might have ignored it.
Yes. In fact, in Kasi, the Nandi, which faces the shrine temple, actually was facing the mosque. So they built the temple in front of the Nandi, where the original Vigraha was there.
Okay.
Yes, but not in. Yes, that much they have actually invaded on.
Tejas, you have any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, one second. Yeah, so I had one question regarding there are multiple forms of dance as we know, but can you tell which is the what I have read about is Kuchipudi is the toughest one. How do we differentiate whether this is the toughest dance or what are the parameters which differentiate which form of dance is toughest actually?
Yes, this is a question that many people ask. There is nothing called easy dancing. So every dance is tough. It mainly because of two things. One, as I told, the synchronization between the mind and the limbs. The mind has to have a different pattern. The limbs have to have a different pattern. Upon this, there is also something called practice, which is really painful. So painful, like how we go to a gym. The gymming is very painful, but yet we push ourselves because of our reasons. But for dance, our reason is only spirituality, the passion for it. So we have to go through that pain. So every dance form, in fact, I would say in the entire world, is actually difficult. There's no easy way out at all. So for the first part of the question, which form is the first? So this is a question which has been unanswered, and there is no proof to which form has come first. So we can say that during the Natya Shastra period, there was only one dance called the Natya Shastric dance. So when this division actually happened, where Kuchipudi became a part of Andhra's geographical region, where Tamil Nadu, Karnataka had Bharatanatyam, North India had Kathak, and when did this division actually happen? Nobody is able to prove it. So we don't know the divisions, but in Natya Shastra, there is a mention of the different styles according to the different regions, which is called the vritti and the pravritti. So that there is a mention, but the names of each of it is never given in the Shastra. So I hope I have answered both the sections of the
I have
question.
one last question. What made you select Bharatanatyam?
Because that's the only thing that I had in my in my area when I was a kid. So I remember my mom wanted to put me in Odissi, but there was no Odissi teacher. There was a Bharatanatyam teacher, and I started learning with her, and I just continued. But due to the liking of dance, I also learned Odissi, Kathak, and Kuchipudi. But yes, I just stood by Bharatanatyam because that is already an integral part of my body. Now to change it is a little of a
So,
task.
if you're given a chance to learn some dance form now,
Yes, I'm still
what
learning.
would you learn?
Yes, I'm still learning Odissi. Odissi,
Okay.
I'm still learning Odissi. So yes. So what is more beautiful is a subjective question. So each body is defined in a different way. So each person can explore and choose what best suits them. So in India, I would suggest any Indian to follow Indian system of dancing wherever they are in the part of the world, because the body is designed in such a way to suit this kind of dancing. And also the complexity that the Indians can understand through the talam is because of the nature that they have brought up to the very complex talam patterns, a very complex dancing, the pain hardworking. So it suits this body structure very well.
Thank
See,
you
I
very
have
much.
a question regarding similar, same extended to the same question. We have like different forms of dance forms, and what is the main difference? I mean, like one or two, the difference between the Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, Odissi, and Kathak. Any small difference that anybody is it expression or the dance? I mean, like the way they do it, or what is the main difference?
Yes, there's a huge difference, and that is why there is different names. In fact, so
Okay.
for example, Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam is a very confusing similarities for a layman. So for a Kuchipudi artist, the first difference that you can see between Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi is the dress, the costume, where the Kuchipudi have a long hair which is placed in the front, whereas the Bharatanatyam have a short or a long hair which is placed in the back. And the Kuchipudi has the difference in abhinaya. Of course, there is a difference in steps as well, huge difference in steps. But I would now tell about the abhinaya part, where Bharatanatyam, there is a word to word translation into action. So when I say I want to speak. So I would just say, I want to speak. That is in Bharatanatyam. But in Kuchipudi, the whole phrase is taken and maybe just said, I have taken a short phrase, but yeah, the whole phrase is taken and then say, I want to speak. So they don't have a word to word translation. That would be one of the minor differences to finding the difference of each of the classical dance forms.
Yeah, there is a question actually. If you take offline classes.
Yes, I take in Bangalore in Bannergetta Road,
Oh, okay.
and you can contact me through my Facebook handles or Instagram, Meghna Venkat. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Gopi, I think you can close it.
Okay.
I also see
If,
another question here by Mr. Ramachandran ji. He is asking, like Natya Shastra is the book of Bharatanatyam, Are there ancient books for other Indian dance forms? Yes, there are many dance form. There are many treatise books. Uh, Natya Shastra is the book of every dance form, and that is why today I chose Natya Shastra, because it was the classical dance form of Bharat. So the Natya Shastra book is for every dance form. It is the, like I said, is the Shastra. If the dance comes into this Shastra, then it becomes a classical form. If the dance doesn't come into the Shastra or definition, then it does not come into a dance form category, classical dance form category. Maybe it will be a martial art, a folk art, or a dance drama, like that. So for Bharatanatyam, the book that we follow is Abhinaya Darpana by Nandikeshwara. In Odissi, the book is Natya Abhinaya Chandrika, and in Mohiniyattam, it is Abhinaya Deepika. So every dance form follows a different treatise, and the father of every treaty or the mother of every treaty is Natya Shastra.
Thank you.
So, on behalf of VHS Karnataka, I thank Sri Meghna Venkateshi for accepting our request and enlightening us on such a wonderful topic, science and Hinduism in Bharata's classical dance on this Samvada. Thank you, Meghnaji, for really enlightening us and answering all our questions. And thank you, Sri Nikun Shaji, Sri Tejas. Thank you for all the technical team and Ishwar Iyer, Gadagi Rakesh. Last but not the least, thank you all the wonderful viewers who have been with us and to make this Samvada successful. Please stay safe. And also please visit and register at vhsindia.org for further amazing online sessions. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.